Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone, wherever you may be in the world. My name's James Lemon. I'm the founder and CEO of Atollo, the industry's hospitality community designed to bring everyone together for connection, support, and development, primarily through mentorship. So we've been working really hard to gather a community of mentors, inspiring leaders who can champion hospitality and hospitality careers and introduce thousands of young people and career people around the world to build really strong connections as the industry looks to recover during these really, really tough times. We're delighted to have you with us live today, or if you're watching back, sit back and enjoy the show. We're live a couple of times a week and really keen to share stories from all around the industry. I've been really looking forward to today's session. We're going to be meeting with Andrew Spink, who is a career GM, just a phenomenal example of a young person in hospitality who has risen through the ranks through hard work, and I'm sure some tactics and ideas that he'll be sharing with us to really reach the top of the GM and operational game. So we'll be hearing his stories and we'll be sharing ideas. And of course, you can always find Andrew on Atollo as one of our mentors, which is fantastic. So Andrew, welcome to, I'm going to go off and meet Andrew now in a lobby of your choice. Great to have you here, Andrew. You keeping well this week?
Yeah, well, good. Thank you very much. Looking forward to today. Thank you very much for the invitation and opportunity to have a chat to you and the rest of the Atollo team and anybody who's joined us this afternoon.
Fantastic. Look, it's absolutely brilliant to have you here. So look, the format of lobby talks, exactly as you would imagine, is we're meeting in a virtual lobby somewhere in the world. We're all sick of kitchens and bedrooms, and it's time to get out there again. So before we sit down and grab a drink, tell us a little bit about where we are in the world today. Where's your lobby?
Well, currently, talk about kitchens. I'm in my own kitchen back at home in Swindon, but my lobby is the Belfry in the Midlands. And the reason why I chose the Belfry, there was various ones that I could have gone with, but it has changed over the years, but it's still synonymous as the Belfry. So as a young general manager at the age of 22, the Belfry was part of the De Vere stable and was the penultimate, if you like, of what to achieve as a general manager. And every time we had general managers meetings, the Belfry was always chosen because of the size and the range of facilities, and the nightclub, the Bel Air, and the golf and everything else for the people who wanted to participate. So the Belfry was always what you would aspire to be as a general manager within De Vere at the time. And then I was fortunate enough in 1998 to join the Belfry team as part of the Ryder Cup 2021 program, if you like, in terms of development. I went there as general manager. And unfortunately, I wasn't there for the Ryder Cup because, unfortunately, as you know, 9/11 occurred and the Ryder Cup got cancelled or postponed a year. So I was lucky to go back and help the management team, as quite a few of the directors of the company did back in 2002, which we'll talk about a bit later on. So the Belfry to me has always been, it's a hype of activity. There's restaurant business, there's bar business in there with the Belfry bar. There's corporate guests, there's leisure guests, there's conference guests, there's people around for golf. And it's just, you could stand and walk around. I know, listening to a couple of your guests before today, they would, have that vision of where they were and they could control things and they could see things and everything happened. And, Marlene was talking last week about being there in the morning and then again in the evening. Belfry was the same. The Belfry was just a hype of activity all day long for all those individual reasons. So the Belfry to me is special, as it is to many people.
No, fantastic. And I think I've actually been to this hotel, interestingly enough. I had a wedding there with some friends about 12 years ago. And I love the bar, kind of looks out over the golf course, right?
Yeah,
you get this great mix of people because you've obviously got families, you've got leisure events, you've got the spa there, you've got corporate clients, and you've got these golfers in their kind of full golfing gear as well. So it's just it must be a really fun hotel to be a part of.
It was an eclectic mix of business, as you say, James, in terms of different characters, different people. And not just my view is the Belfry is the sort of place which would close for 1 hour a day. It would open at 6 a.m. for breakfast and it would shut at 5 when the bar closed at 5 a.m. in the Belfry bar. So, it was, you learned a lot there, definitely. Just going there, you just got hooked on the observations about what was going on. And then when I went back as general manager, it was just a great place to work. Challenging, but a great place to work.
Cool. Well, it sounds like a great place to start our lobby talks today. So excited to be here. So our first segment is called Your Career in 60 Seconds. So are you up for the challenge, Andrew? Do you think you can walk us through your career in a minute?
We'll give it a go. Okay. Well, I started in the industry in 1978. I went to catering college for 2 years. I worked in a restaurant and bar in Warrington for 2 years, 16 to 18. 18 onwards, I got a job as a trainee manager, from a trainee manager to assistant manager's deputy manager. And I was given the opportunity by the MD at the time, a chap called Stuart Reed, who gave me the job as a hotel manager back in 1984, which was the youngest, I think, in the country. So I was really pleased that I achieved that. And that was due to hard work and just observations and wanting to get the job done and please people. So 84 was my first general manager's job. Moved around Bolton, Altrincham, and then down to Stafford. De Vere, Swindon holds a very, very dear place in my heart. I've worked there off and on for 20 years. Belfry, Bell House, and then back to Swindon, doing a regional director role for probably 5 years. And then the last couple of years was just based at Swindon, managing the team. And then this year, I decided to take retirement and finish in the March of this year. But still, as you know, hospitality doesn't let go of you. And my role really is now just to help other people, whether it's Otolo, the Institute of Hospitality, and just help the next generation. I've started a Andrew Spink Hospitality Facebook group, just putting tips and advice on there for young people in the industry. And I just want to help people in that period of time going forward. So probably more than a minute, but there you go. That's the 43 years in a nutshell.
No, that's fantastic. I really appreciate that. And let's definitely talk about celebrating what you know with the Otolo community. If you're writing your insights and your tips, let's get them shared. Starting with the session today, and then I know you're doing lots of mentoring with us as well, which is fully appreciated. Great. Well, look, let's get into it. You know, the way we love to tell our stories at Otolo is just celebrate what happens behind the scenes. So our next section is called Good Day, Bad Day, because there are some real highlights to working in this industry. Yeah, and we know that there are some really tough times as well. So over to you. Do not mind where you start. We've had it every which way around, but yeah, take us through a couple of your stories.
Again, this week's been planning which ones do you share, because there are lots of good stories. There are lots of good moments in your career, and we'll go with the good news first. Whether you sign a new contract with a client, or whether it's got an event gone well, or you've appointed somebody who's really working out in the role that you've appointed them in. But I guess if I was to pick one day in the whole 43 years, then it would be the last day of the Ryder Cup at the Belfry in 2002. And the reason I say that was because it was a worldwide audience of TV people watching the event. The last day was, I think if I'm not mistaken, it was 8-all. If people don't know, it's American versus US against Europe playing golf over 3 days. And it was the last day, it was 8-all, and the European team won on the final day. I'd gone there to help with the rest of some of the senior directors of the organisation had gone to help the team. Not help them, but in terms of just facilitate. And it was a complete team thing from the company's point of view. And the atmosphere was electric and live, and a worldwide audience watching on the TV, and the Europeans won, and there were celebrations going on from pretty much 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon right the way through till the early hours of the next day. So from a one day in your career, which is a defining moment that you'll remember forever, I would say definitely the last day of the Ryder Cup at the Belfry in 2002.
Fantastic. And to have it right on your doorstep as well would be great. And again, I'm no golf expert, so let me represent the non-golf experts. But am I right in thinking that's a pretty rare occasion as well? Like it doesn't often come Europe's way. Is that fair?
Well, I don't know the actual equation, how many times they've won it, but they played at the Belfry. That was their 4th time at the Belfry since 85 through to 2002. And coincidentally, it's on next weekend over in America. So it was just a great atmosphere. There was sports personalities. My football team, by the way, is Liverpool, and I was looking after a certain section of the hospitality areas in the main hotel, not outside, but in the main hotel. And it was everybody was controlled, and passes to get access to certain things. And Kenny Dalglish and Alan Hansen, who were my heroes from Liverpool, tried to get into the successful Ryder Cup European team room after the event to actually join the celebrations. And I was under strict instructions from the PGA and the European Tour. Only people with official badges could get access. And you know what? I got to, after about 10 minutes not arguing, but saying to Kenny Dalglish, you can't come in, okay, in you go. And it was one of those things you reflect, and I've met him a couple of times since, and we have had that conversation. But him and Alan Hansen, keen golfers, both went in,
Bit of pragmatism.
Yeah, exactly.
And just practically, with that much pressure on the hotel and that much excitement happening, how do you keep the team focus? How do you prepare a team for such a high pressure?
Well, we got a few of us went in probably about 4 or 5 days before. The exec director of the hotel and his senior team were obviously in control of the whole thing. But there was probably about 6 or 8 of general managers which went in to host certain areas to make it, more controlled. But you just have regular communication. Any event, whether it's a Ryder Cup last day or Ryder Cup itself, or a wedding or a function or whatever you're doing, you've got to be talking and communicating, a regular, and you also have to make sure that everybody understands what you're saying. People can understand it differently to what you mean. So you've got to have regular briefings, conversations, updates. So that was very much part of the success of it, and interpreting what the requirements are ahead of it. So what you think might be a successful activity might not work from their point of view. So you've really got to listen to your client all the time. You give them guidance, give them support, and give them what your views on certain things would be. But really, you've got to deliver on the day. So you've got to have that constant communication throughout your team. Yeah,
I mean, the skills you learn in hospitality like this just feel incredibly transferable.
Well, transferable.
This is just great project management and great.
Well, that's what it is. There was people there that were heavily involved in. A couple of people I remember that were heavily involved in project management at a strategic company level that were there just to have their bit on the day and the week before. So. It was a one team effort without a doubt, and I was only a small part, but the main Belfry team were the ones that drove that activity for sure.
Yeah. It's funny when something great like that's going on, everyone turns up from head office. I won't comment on how useful that was. No, all good. So look, I mean, obviously in your career, I'm sure you've had some really tough times as well. Maybe you could just talk us through kind of one of the bad days you've had.
Yeah, I mean, again, you can have all individual examples. You can have things that go wrong on the day for an hour or so. But the one that I suppose the one that is memorable for the wrong reason was a Saturday in December, probably about 11 years ago now. And 2 or 3 days before, we'd had various events in the hotel, and it was alleged, and I use the word alleged, that a norovirus outbreak had occurred. And as a consequence, we had a few people who were attending an event who were teachers, and unfortunately, they became ill over a period of days later. And there was an allegation that the hotel was responsible. Well, norovirus is hard to produce, so it's hard to clarify one way or the other. But in the end, the environmental health got involved, and we were exonerated as a business. But the pressure that put on was because. Unfortunately, because it was a few teachers, this particular school had to close because there wasn't enough teachers to cover the lessons in question. So therefore, it became a newspaper story in the local media. And then the following day, which was the Saturday, the phone never stopped ringing from 8:30 in the morning. People saying, we have 500 people coming for dinner. I want to cancel my dinner. I've got 50 people as part of a party night, Christmas party night. I don't mind people coming if there's problems in the hotel and so forth. So you just had to manage that, give the people assurances. Some understood, some didn't. And you got to be professional and deal with it. And we probably lost, of the 500 people, we probably lost maybe about 100 people throughout the day who just didn't want to come for whatever reason. The day itself went perfectly well. The evening went perfectly well. But it was pressure on everybody to make sure that we gave them no reason to have any concerns. And then I probably left the hotel maybe about midnight. And then I got a phone call at 2 a.m. to say there'd been a couple of fights in bedrooms. So we had to go and separate quarrelling partners, husbands and wives. And we just moved them around the hotel so they had separate rooms for the night. So that was probably the longest day that I've had in the period of time. Yeah. One which came close was George Best, who never turned up for a sportsman's dinner. We had to keep the crowd entertained, 250 people for the dinner, kept the bar going for an extra complimentary bar for an hour, and kept the comedian going for an extra 45 minutes to cover the hours that George Best would have been speaking. So that was also a challenge, but that was the main one.
No, fair enough. And I guess, negative reviews, negative press must be just the absolute worst nightmare for a leader. Yeah. How do you rally the team around something like that? How do you move forward when things are so tough?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, you have to have a crisis plan so you can refer to make sure that you've got all your actions in place, which we did. And then you've got to put the emotion to one side. You're the general manager, you take responsibility, explain to the team, rally them round, get them to understand, and also they just need to get on with their job. As long as they're doing their job properly, going forward at that moment in time, that's the most you can hope for. So regular, my belief has always been people who work for me or work with me, I should say, over many, many years will hopefully say that, you're visible. Because I always used to say, you never see any customers in my office unless there's a problem. All my customers are outside on the floor. They're in the bars, in the restaurants, in the leisure club. They're in the meeting rooms. They're in the restaurants and so forth. So that's where you need to see them. You need to go and talk to them. That's where they are. So my view has always been, you're in hospitality, get out and be with your customers. So on that particular night, you've got to go and face the music and be there and take what comes your way, but communicate with the team. And again, I always used to have this view that I am their umbrella. I'll protect them because they're my people, and therefore, if you need to deal with them off because there's something wrong, you deal with individual people one-to-one. But as an overall business, you are the leader, you are the director of that business, and therefore you've got to manage that.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Difficult times, but I'm sure.
Yeah, only one day though. Only one day like that.
Absolutely. So look, kind of shifting gears, our next section's called Last Stay on Earth, and we try and picture the scene that, like, if you just had one more night to enjoy hospitality, would love to know what you do. Where would you take us? What hotel?
Well, I have to be honest, James. Listen to Marlene and a few other people about where they would want to be on one day. Mine is all over the globe. So first of all, I will apologise for my carbon footprint here. However, if I could teleport myself around the globe on my last 24 hours on Earth, I would start off at what is now the village Swindon, which was the De Vere Swindon, for breakfast, because I had a breakfast chef for 20 years who never let me down. The first advice I was given many, many years ago was, as a young general manager, always have a breakfast chef and a night porter who you can rely on, because if any of those two guys or girls let you down, then you as the manager, you've got to deal with it. So my breakfast chef, or the breakfast chef at Swindon, was a great guy called Jai. He was there for 20 odd years, and his full English breakfast was really top of the mystery guest scores, and the whole breakfast was the thing for me, and that was a great sort of feedback from the guests that they really enjoyed the engagement that Jai would give the guests. So we'd have breakfast at the hotel. Then I would go across and go to the Plaza for brunch. I was fortunate to go there many years ago. I went for my 40th birthday with some friends, and we had brunch at the Plaza, and that was just a great experience. The New York style, the whole thing, and the wine and the blinis and the whole thing on a Sunday afternoon. So Sunday brunch at the Plaza in New York, with a sneaky drink afterwards in the Oak Room as well, which is well known for its heritage at the Plaza. And after that, I would go across to the Vertigo bar at the Banyan Tree in Bangkok and have a pre-dinner cocktail or drink in the Banyan Tree. I think it's 66 floors high. I would urge people to go and have a look at it on the web, or if they've not been going, if you do get a chance, that's definitely one to go and have a look at. So the Vertigo bar, looks great vista of the whole of Bangkok. And then I would then go back to New York and go to Smith & Wollensky's Steakhouse on 3rd Avenue near Wall Street. And my menu choice there would be a nice New York ribeye steak with a béarnaise sauce, some fries, and some steamed broccoli. And that would be with a nice bottle of Chablis. That would be great. And then I would then go to the Maldives. I've been to the Maldives twice. I've been very fortunate, and I know that I've been fortunate, but I would go and stop. The hotel I stopped at was the Holiday Inn in Kanduma, a lovely resort. And we were there for about 10 days, 10 years ago for my 50th birthday. And it was just, do you know what, James? My belief, I know it's mad, but my belief is that everybody who's born should be given a golden ticket so that 1 week in their life they get the chance to go to the Maldives, because it is just a magical experience and a magical place to be. And I'd wake up in the Maldives the following morning looking at the vista and the beach and the white sand and the sea and the Indian Ocean. So that was my last 24 hours. Not good for the carbon footprint, but if it's the last 24 hours, no one's really going to bother, are they?
Yeah, fair enough. Wow, like what an epic world trip. That's fantastic. Yeah. So the Vertigo bar, is that the one that's in the Hangover movie where they kind of gives the top? Is that right?
Yeah, and there's a few more now that are superseded in terms of height. Sure. A couple of moon bars and so forth.
But it's the classic.
It's just a classic one, and there's all the pictures. It's like an arch over the top, and it's very dark. There's no there's subliminal lighting, and when you get the menu, it's lit up inside. Quite a few places do that now, but I saw that 10 years ago, just blown away by it. And you're just looking across the whole landscape of Bangkok.
Yeah.
And it's a dress code that they stipulate. So you go up in the lift and they're looking up and down to see if you've got the right dress code. If you've not, they take you to one side, and we were okay. Would you like, we saw other people, would you like to loan these trousers before you go in the Barca? So, it's just a great place. It's just a really, really expensive, but worth it.
No, I mean, these are all really iconic hospitality experiences, aren't they? And I think that's something that we've probably all really missed. But I think one of the reasons why the industry is bouncing back so strong is because it burns in your mind the thoughts of these really iconic locations and these experiences that hospitality creates.
People, customers, they've missed out for the past 18 months, let's be honest. So they're keen to go back. Occupancies are flying in hotels. I know there's a staffing issue in many places, and hopefully that will get resolved. But, customers that I've spoken to, that I've kept in contact with, they're slowly coming back in terms of meeting space, and corporate is still a bit slow, but they're keen to. But the leisure's the staycation was great this year for the industry, and hopefully that'll carry on next year as well. So people are just keen to go back and do the things they've missed out on for the past 18 months for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. We're all craving those experiences when we can. It's going to be great getting people back out there and sharing just how much they love hospitality. And that should really inspire us as hospitality people as well, that we get a chance to create these experiences. Every day we get dozens of chances to deliver amazing experiences. That's really unique.
That's what people remember. I mean, every hotel's got similar facilities, within reason, bars, restaurants, bedrooms, and so forth. But it's the experience that you engage with the individuals when you're there, which makes it the difference. And those places there, whether it was the Plaza or whether it's Smith and Wollensky's, I've been more than once. So it's because I had a great time the first time, I wanted to go back again. Yeah. And we took our daughter and son to New York for her 21st and tried to book the Plaza, but it was closed down for refurbishment. But I mean, you will go back time and time again as a repeat customer if you're looked after, not just because the food's good, the room's clean, but if people engage and recognize you and engage in hospitality and talk, and you think, this is where I want to keep going back. And we should never forget that, there's lots of people out there after our money. I used to say to my team, a weekend away could cost £500. That'll buy you a new washing machine. That'll put 4 new tyres on your car. Yeah. And on Monday morning, all you've got to show for it is a great experience and an invoice or receipt for your stay. Whereas your washing machine will probably last you a few years. And it's daft, but you're just not competing with hotels. You're competing with the disposable income. So you have to make sure that the experience you give the customer is memorable, all for the right reasons.
Yeah. No, that's great piece of wisdom. So the kind of next section of our kind of journey together, if you like, is called the Guestbook. It's really about, you've obviously had a long, successful career. You've had some great ups, some great, not so great downs. But what advice would you leave behind? What would you leave the industry in terms of tips and tricks and how we can kind of get out of this?
Well, the one phrase that I use a lot, and have recently been using it more often, is you put your own life jacket on first. People often say customers come first. Well, they do, but you come first, your team comes second, and your customers come third. Because if you're physically right, mentally right, healthy right as a general manager or any individual in the industry, then your team will bounce off that. If you're not, you're never going to get their buy-in. You're never going to win the hearts and minds of your team. And you're never going to get the customer service right because no one believes in it. So my biggest advice would be to make sure that you're looking after yourself, educate yourself, grow yourself, have a career plan. Make sure you've got not a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 30-year plan. If you're in the 20s, why not? I sat down when I was 25 and said, right, I want to retire at 60. I made it, or 55 rather. I made it 4 years late, but things happen along the way. So have a plan and be passionate about what you do. People say, find a job that you love and you never do a day's work in your life. It is true. You need to want to go to work in the morning. Otherwise, there's no point doing it. You've got to have a passion. And my passion at school, I was never good at woodwork or metal work. I enjoyed catering. I enjoyed cooking Victoria sandwich cakes. And I just got into catering. And you realise, you can do back of house stuff. But in actual fact, where the action is, for me, was at the front of house. and I just wanted to progress, and that's what I did. But never underestimate the people watching you, around you, because you've got to impress those people. You've got to make sure they understand what your role is, what you want to do, and how they can help you. And my view towards the end of my career was, as a leader, you have to create more leaders who then create leaders. So it's really important that you're understanding what's important to your team and give them all the help they can have to get where they want to be. So, and Dale Carnegie, who, if people Google Dale Carnegie, if you don't know who he is, a great philanthropist of the 20th century, we did a management program many years ago for 3 or 4 days. And one thing I came away with, two things. One, if it is to be, it's up to me. That was the saying. If it is to be, it's up to me. So again, back to put your own life jacket on first. You have to drive it. Nobody else will do it. And if you are a manager of 7 years, are you a manager of 1 year's experience repeated 7 times? And that's a great level of what have you learned? What have you progressed with? How have you developed your own skill set? And a lot of it is down to you as an individual to make some great progress. So there's a few things there. As I mentioned before, I've got this Andrew Spink Hospitality Facebook group, which I put things on there just to encourage, and also through Atollo as well, so that, I put some comments on there just to help people. So there's quite a few things in there, James.
There's definitely a lot to digest at once. But I think absolutely right. The fact that you're not going anywhere, you're continuing to share this expertise, I think is a wealth of experience that I would certainly encourage anyone who is, what I'd call an industry elder, who has done a lot of their time and is now looking at kind of passion projects. I definitely encourage people to mentor and share. I think it's a great.
It keeps you involved. It just keeps you involved in the industry. I speak to some managers now and then. This week it's been great because the Katie Awards have been back, which is great to see. And Joanne Taylor-Stagg, who was a general manager, my first my second time in Swindon, she's won the GM of the Year, which is great. Fantastic. Great for her and her team at the Athenaeum. And I'm sure she'll be part of Atollo at some point in the future, sharing those stories and how you become the GM of the Year in the Katie Awards. So and all the people that got involved with that this year. It's great to see it's back on the radar.
Yeah, absolutely. The more we can champion the industry, both inside and out, I think the better. I suppose one thing on my mind is a lot of people fall into hospitality, and typically those first couple of years can be quite long hours, quite low pay, and maybe people aren't getting that inspiration around, look, this could be a career. They're not quite taking the time to see how it might fit in their 3-year, 5-year, 30-year plan, as you say. How do you think as an industry we can reach them? How do you think we can start to actually kind of unpick what might support them in having the kind of career you've had or
Well, I suppose the first thing is start off with the team you've got now. So the people you've got that have you've retained them through furlough, or they've been part of your core team. Engage with them, recognise what they've done, recognise their value. Look at reward schemes, engagement programs. I know there's talk about certain companies who are, I think Village of One, looking at reviewing pay structures if you're multi-skilled and multi-flexible in certain departments, and really just, create that culture. 3 things in terms of business. You've got business acumen, you build a team, and you create a culture. And that's the success of any business. And with where we are now in the industry, it's all about creating that culture. And it's always been a people business, but now more than ever before. Look at what we're offering the people. Look at what we're offering the teams. Have we got some opportunities for them? More training, more development for them to grow their skill set. Because as we said at the very beginning, James, all those skills are all transferable skills in industries. So it's really important that you do engage with your team. And when you're recruiting, as we know, you're recruiting for the personality more so than ever before, because you've got to give that experience to your customers in the hospitality sector.
Lovely. Really, really great. Well, look, unfortunately, we've reached the checkout, really the last section of our show. But the last thing for me to do before I quickly say goodbye is just kind of share a couple of thoughts. I think really what you've left me with there, Andrew, is this sense that actually, people don't know what they don't know. And it's our job as leaders, it's our job to tell the stories of hospitality. And as employers, we've got to give people the broadest possible chances to develop the skills they need, not for hospitality yesterday, but for hospitality today and tomorrow. And it is a career. and there is so much you can do with it. Any department, any location in the world, go and work at the Plaza, go and work at the Maldives, and be paid to do it. Can't be too bad. But,
there's not many industries you can do that. Let's be honest. There's not many industries you can actually transport you as an individual to those parts of the world with the skills in hospitality. And it's just a great, even now you can probably sense I'm still passionate about it because it's given me a great career. One company for 43 years, which was great for them and for me. And I hope it was anyway. And it's, it's just a great business to be in. And I'm great to see it back.
Brilliant. Well, look, Andrew, thank you so much for your time, sharing so much of your ups and downs and your ins and outs. Really appreciate a little look behind the curtain of your hospitality career.
Right.
Obviously, people can find you on Atollo at myatollo.com.
They can indeed, yeah.
Free to join. Just hit connect and they can drop you a quick note. I'm sure you'd spend a little bit of time with people who are following your footsteps. We're delighted to be back next Tuesday. We're going to be chatting with Melinda, who's got a fantastic career from Accor and TripAdvisor, and recently has been qualified and working as a coach. So knows all about neuroscience and how our brains work. So I'm a bit nervous about that one, but it'll be fantastic to have her here with us and really get under the grips of coaching, mentoring, and why it's so important to really understand all the aspects of human life as we think about serving our guests and building our careers. So we ran a little bit over. I hope that's okay with everyone. Andrew, it's been fabulous to share your thoughts.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, James.
Our pleasure. And we'll see you all next